podcasts out there, but only one with this kind of energy.
Welcome to EVP Show Recaps, Predictions, Sports. Let go, show recaps, predictions, sports.
In one podcast.
Welcome to EVP Show Recaps, Predictions, Sports. Let go.
What is going on, everybody? It's EVP from the EVP Show, and we are live for your Big Brother Season 28 Week 7 recap show. Wow. What a week. What a crazy week. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. A whole lot to talk about here. I'm just retweeting them live. I'm a little late, but don't want to give it away, but it looks like the feeds are going to be off for the next 3 days, which is going to make it a little difficult for next week's recap, but we will figure it out. Just retweet online. I've got a comment already. What's up, Kingpin, man? My pick got eliminated tonight, but I know we will get into that later. Reminder fans, amateur competition, everything matters. 100%. Yeah, man. It sucks for your pick. She definitely was somebody that definitely could have won the game at the end. But just we'll talk about it. This twist, I feel like may shake the game up. We'll see after tonight. There's 10 people remaining, so we'll see what happens. Like I said, I do apologize. I'm a little late. I was trying to watch the feeds while I could because apparently this is the thousandth episode of Big Brother. If you've been watching the show as long as I have, I probably started watching about season 4, so 24 seasons ago. So you got to see a lot of the alumni. They gave away a lot of awards. The Guinness World Record was also in attendance tonight as well. So a lot happened. It was an hour and a half show. The Blockbuster comp was, I definitely did not have the person winning. I thought they were definitely the underdog going in, especially what type of comp it is. But I was doing the comp myself, watching live, and I was just like, I mean, after 2 questions, the process elimination is more likely that letter is the correct answer. So we'll go into all that, everything that happened. I'm not going to name every single alumni. I didn't write all of them down. There is some sort of competition going on tomorrow night. Since we're not going to have any live feeds until after Sunday, which I'll talk about towards the end of the show. But if you download that app, you'll be able to watch it. It's a lot of the old Big Brother players like Morgan and Rachel and her sister Alyssa. I don't have the list handy, but Paul, he's actually part of this week's recap as well. He was the host of the HOH comp. I believe maybe Vince, I'm not sure. It's a whole lot of them that's competing tomorrow night in a mini competition with the winner getting like $10,000, which I'm sure they're going to like this donation to charity or something like that. So let's kind of just start off with this has been a crazy week. I did put a poll up. I didn't get a lot of votes, so I'm kind of up in the air on the next move after Big Brother. Obviously, I believe that Amazing Race starts September 30th, which is the night before the Big Brother finale. I think Traders may start the 18th of September, so that one may be out. And I believe Survivor and Survivor and Amazing Race usually start about the same exact time. So I'm gonna put another poll up. Hopefully you guys can there was a tie, so we got to break the tie. I preferably would rather cover Survivor, an amazing race. But ultimately, it'll be up to you guys. What you guys want to see. So, um, I definitely like Survivor more than I do Amazing Race. So, but we'll see. We will see. So let's just kind of give a quick recap of how things have went down. I'm not going to go through every single HOH from the beginning of the season. But obviously, I will go through the first 6 house guests that have been evicted, not in any particular order. Obviously, Ashley was voted out unanimously week 1. And then I believe it was Rome, week 2. He was backdoored on Devon's HOH. And then I believe it was Jason, week 3. And then, yeah, Jason week 3. I believe that was on Kamu's HOH, I think. Jason went out week 3, I believe. And then it was Lyric, week 4. And then we got Chuck, week 5. And then last week we saw, in my opinion, the biggest threat and the biggest challenger to win the game was Kamu, which we talked about that last week on the week 6 recap. Rick Devens used a diamond power veto, put Kamu on the block, and he lost to Angela in the blockbuster, which was 100% an upset in my eyes. So Kamu got sent packing. So where are we headed now? Like, it's let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 11 people still in the house. So it's kind of, it's kind of split. So, yeah, but we're gonna jump right into it. Obviously, last week kind of a lot of alliances kind of split up. We got the red corner. The crossovers was kind of still intact for the most of this week until basically until after the power veto. The crossovers after this week is completely donezo. The house has definitely shifted. The icons have added someone in or added 2 people in. This week was just so crazy. D is, she gets a lot of shit online about being a Survivor player and stuff like that. But, I hate to say she's not there for the money, but she's not scared to make big moves. So, like, if she thinks you're a threat to her winning at the end, and she got a shot. But at the end of the day, once we talk about who went home tonight, ultimately it really wasn't Dee's decision. I mean, it was, but Rick Devens, in my opinion, is still the favorite to win this season, because if you haven't been watching the feeds and you don't have a clue what's going on, probably, if you're just watching the shows, but he's definitely the one that planted the seed to D. And then obviously Angela had the same plan, but Devens was the first person to talk about it. So I don't know if, I'm not saying D wouldn't have done what she did, but Devens definitely planted the seed. So, and Devens is still the only player to not be nominated this entire season. So, right now he's definitely the front runner. I think even if he gets to the end with D, which I mean, they do have a lot of numbers, but I think it's going to be pretty difficult for both of them to get to the end. But I think we see both. Maybe CBS really does want to see 2 Survivor people sit at the end. I don't know. There's a lot of speculation online about rigging and stuff like that. I don't really know. We'll kind of just go over everything. I think if Devens sits at the end with D, I think Devens wins the game just from game moves. And obviously he hasn't touched the block yet. I don't think he's going to go the entire season without touching the block. But we're live here on the EVP show. Like I said, I started a little bit late. Probably my fault. Most people that are watching are watching football. I have still not watched any football at all. I've just been so busy. Somebody talked me into starting a knockout fantasy league. So I was like, man, there's just no way. We only got like 4 or 5 days until like we start drafting. And I was like, I'll give it a whirl. So I did it, and you know, maybe this is the best time of the year to. It's 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 a pain in the ass collecting, but um, and I'm hoping I don't go through this league. Like I'm pretty sure the group that I have in here, several of them have already paid, and we're not even full. But we do need one more person for the knockout league. I'll kind of explain that a little bit for people that's never done that. It's definitely something new to ESPN. They call it the guillotine last year. You still have the normal draft with the kicker and the defense and the way that I have it set up. But you are, yeah, I was gonna message you, Kingpin, about that. Most of the people that's in the ESPN league, not a lot of them people are in Discord, or in the wrestling Discord. This is most of them came from the sports Discord. But if you are playing in a knockout league, basically we'll have a draft, and then once week 1 starts, you put your lineup in. You're just like you would a regular week. You're not going to be facing anyone though. Your goal is to put your best lineup in and hope for the best. I did it last year. I think there was 12 teams, or it might have been 15 teams. I don't know. I think the buy-in was like $50. It was a big payout. I think I got down to like the final 6 and then maybe final 7. And then 3 of my players got hurt that week. So it was kind of. So basically, the way it works is starting week 1, you're not playing against anyone. It's just your team. So, like, at the end of the week, whoever's team accumulates the lowest points, you are eliminated. That's the end of the season for you, unfortunately. It could be me. I could be the first boot. You never know. It just all depends on how you draft. So also, instead of the regular waivers, you get 200, not real cash, but 200 in ESPN cash for waivers, so that people don't get screwed in waivers. That's always been a big complaint that we had last year, is if you're at the bottom of the waiver wire and you really want to grab a player and you got 10 or 11 teams in front of you and you have an injury and you can't pick up somebody, well, now you can. You have $200, and that's what you use to on the waiver to on your waivers. You have to bid at least $1. But you have to be strategic with your lineup, but you also have to be strategic with your FAAB money, your $200. Because if you spend it all on one player, then you have nothing for the rest of the season. So you gotta try to space it out. Obviously, if you get a Josh Allen or somebody like that, you may want to bump it up, $40-$50, and try to outbid everybody else. But whoever bids the highest, that's who the player goes to. But you really want to try to make that money last as long as you can. Obviously, you're not guaranteed next week, but if you get an elite player, sometimes it's worth maybe dumping half, but you definitely don't want to dump your whole stack, especially if it's looking like you're going to advance to the next week. So, but that's how that works. Once the team is eliminated, they're out. Their players will go into the waiver pool, and then once we do our waiver after the week's over, everybody puts their bids in, and then that next morning, everybody can see who they got. You can make drops. Even people you drafted, you can still drop them. So for me, it's a lot more fun. It's only going to last 11 weeks because we only have 12 teams. So that's how that works. I just feel I had 2 spots available most of the day, but I put it in the rest in my Discord where my news channel is. If I gave them the opportunity, if they, wanted to fill the last 2 spots, they still would have to pay to get in, but um, it would also cover them for a lifetime membership for the news channel. But I was gonna message you. I was watching Big Brother Kingpin, but a lot of people in the other leagues, 98% of them are not in the wrestling Discord. So, if we're gonna pull the last player, it's definitely gonna have to be more than likely gonna have to be somebody from that wrestling Discord where my news is. I mean, we got one really fast. Like as soon as I made the post, I thought as soon as I made that post, those 2 spots would fill. But we have one to go. We definitely need to get it filled tomorrow, no later than Saturday, because I still have to collect. So, but most of the people that's in the league, they will pay pretty quick because several of them are in some of my other leagues. But that's how the knockout thing works. If it's something you're interested in, there's one spot available. It's pretty fun. It's not too expensive, $25. It is winner take all. There is no second place. So if you're the last team standing, then you walk away with, let's see, 25 times 10, that's 250. So it'd be $300. Walk away with $300 if you're the last team standing. So, and it gets fun, like, because when you get down to like 4 or 5, you got all the best players in the league available on waivers. Because when the team loses, all those players drop to waiver. Also, the DWE league, we can't really post that in the Discord because like I said, it's a split Discord. But there are 4 spots open in that. It's a free league. It's only 8 teams. It's for fun. I thought that would have been one of the first ones we filled up, but I don't know. I pushed it, but I mean, I got you and Raymond and me in Miami, and that's really it. We have 4. If we don't fill up, we just run with 4. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to cancel the league. Hopefully, we still got a couple of days. I really want to try to get this knockout league done, and I can start collecting on that. There's still one person that owes me Stampede, which I know is good for it on the last 9 yards. Sean paid me tonight, so everybody's paid except for Stampede and the other leagues. And then once we fill this one spot, I can just message them and say, "Hey, we're full. Get the money," and then maybe we could, since the feeds are gonna be down, I can work. Like I don't stream Saturday, so I can work on trying to get those other 4 spots for the DW league. So yeah, just right here, just one spot available. The knockout league, $25 to win more money and a lifetime subscription to the EVP Discord news wrestling news channel. That is correct. So the league is not free. You have to pay to get in the league, but you will get a lifetime membership to my news. So it's definitely worth it because starting in January, that $3 a month is probably going to go up. I haven't announced in the Discord yet, but with the amount of people that's interested and what I see everybody else is charging, I mean, I'm not going to go crazy with it, but probably starting in January, probably going to go up to 5, to be honest. Because $3 is just not really much. It's $36 a year. So, but yeah, as of right now, I'll stay 3 until the end of the year. Because a lot of people have paid up to the end of the year. Plus, we have 4 spots open in the free fantasy football league. That is the DWE league. So that's correct. All right, so let's get into it. This is the Big Brother Season 28, Week 7 recap show. We saw Kamu blindsided last week with Devin's Diamond Power veto and was voted out. I believe the vote count was 8-1. Lala was the only person that voted Haley out. So this is broken into 11 parts. So for me, with Kamu leaving, the Icons were still felt like the Icons are in trouble every week if somebody in their group doesn't win power, because this seems like that a whole other side of the house just has an obsession with them and wanting to get them on the block. I just don't know if it's going to be possible to get all three of them out before jury. We're down to 10. I have a feeling we're probably going to have a 9-person jury, and we could have a 7-person. If we do, then it is possible to get all three of them out before jury, but highly unlikely in my opinion. We'll talk about this big twist at the end of the show. I'm super excited for it, but I will say, CBS, you're an ass for, because are they going to do this twist? Somebody else is going to be evicted Sunday, so next Thursday it's going to be like pretty much us talking about everything that happened with the twist, who got evicted and then who got evicted. It's going to be a long, big, huge show next Thursday for the Week 8 recap. So the Icons definitely needed power here. At this point in time, the Icons still had Drew and Barrett and Melody and Mallory kind of sort of with the mosh pit. This competition ultimately is going to end up biting one of the mosh pit in the ass at the end of tonight, because like Kingpin said, never throw a competition. So I watched it back again after me and you talked, and I know Mallory said she'd do it, but I still don't think she wins. She was still about a second and a half behind. Now Barrett, he definitely had the HOH beat, and he definitely do it. Barrett was he'd been playing way too safe, and not until after this renom did Barrett actually wake up. So let's get into part one. I titled this "The Icons Reclaim Power." Week 7 began immediately after Kama's eviction, leaving 11 house guests fighting for the $750,000 prize. Dee, Devins, Angela, Yash, Taylor, Drew, Melody, Barrett, Mallory, Lala, and Haley is left. Yash is unable to compete in this competition as he is the outgoing HOH. Nobody knew it yet, but this would become one of the most historic weeks of the season. By the end of week 7, Big Brother would celebrate its 1,000th episode. Guinness World Records would enter the picture, and another house guest would be sent home to become the 7th member voted out, along with Ashley, Rome, Jason, Lyric, Chuck, and Kamu, who will join those 6 and become the 7th person voted out to leave us with 10 left in the game. Julie, and also on the 1,000th episode, Julie is going to reveal a twist unlike anything Big Brother has ever seen before, which we'll talk about toward the end. First, somebody needed power. So, after the aftermath of the Kama eviction, we are setting up for the HOH competition. So, this season is considered the time travel. Every time they did the HOH, the veto, they sit at the dining room table, and the little thing comes on, and they go back in time. So this is going to be August the 23rd of 8:51. So way back in time, the Viking era. The time laser sent the house guest. Yash is not able to compete in this HOH competition. Sent the house guest back more than 1,000 years for the week 7 HOH competition. The HOH competition is called Norse by Northwest. This competition is really made for somebody on Survivor, truthfully. This competition was hosted by the Big Brother legend. I believe it was Big Brother season 16 and 18. Paul Abraham, one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most raw Big Brother players to never win. He definitely was robbed. He was the host of this competition. So the way this competition works is this is a balance beam competition. The house guests would go one at a time. They have to find the easiest path from the start all the way to the finish, hitting buttons from the start to finish, and trying not to fall off of the balance beam. Also trying to get to the end in the quickest amount of time. So let's see who takes over the power. This was a balance beam speed competition. Each house guest had to navigate the course and hit 6 buttons, with the fastest time becoming the new head of household. The results. So Haley was first up on the balance beam. She was able to compete it. It took her. She finished. Her final time was 1.87. So not really good. Not terrible, but Haley 1.87. So then up next is Angela. Definitely didn't expect Angela to do well in this. Definitely didn't expect her to win. She finished with a time of 1.93. So as of right now, Haley's still in the lead with 1.87. Next up was Drew. He is a member of the crossovers with Dee Devins, Drew, Barrett, and Angela. So any member of the crossovers wins. At this point in time, the icons would have been safe. Obviously, by the end of this week, the crossovers is maybe still alive, but one of the people are out, and maybe they're replaced with another one. We'll see. So Drew's up next. He finished with a time of 59 seconds flat, which is a really good time. Drew is now the leader so far, knocking Haley off the throne. Haley and Angela have been eliminated. So Lala is up next. Lala has been doing really good in competition. So people that, and myself, if I go back and look at some of my recaps from the beginning of the season, I didn't give Lala any chance to win this game, but she is very impressive in these competitions. Lala finished with a time of 59.18 seconds. So she was 0.18 behind Drew. So she is also eliminated from competition. Taylor up next. She moved across the balance beam really quick, but just not quick enough, as she also finished with a time of 59.18, and she also is eliminated from the competition. Up next, so if you watch Survivor 45, Dee won several competitions. If she was going to win one, which I thought she would win a lot more than she has this season, this is her type of competition. She won this on Survivor as well. Dee flew through the competition, got to the button, and she hit the button at 50 seconds flat. 50 seconds. Dee ran through the course. And truthfully, I think she could have done it at 45. Because if you go back and watch it, on her third turn, she went back the other way instead of going towards the button. So she honestly took the long way. And she still did it in 50 seconds. She probably should have done this in 40 to 45 seconds. But she did take the wrong way. But Dee with 50 seconds is now in the lead, knocking Drew off. So right now, Dee is your leader. Mallory up next. Something Kingpin was talking about here about throwing a competition. So it looks like Mallory's up next. She flew as well. She kind of talked about it later on. It looks like she was kind of in her head toward the end. That's the thing about Mallory, Melody, and Barrett. They're all good players, but they don't want to win competition because they don't want to show their cards. But then when things don't go their way, they moan and gripe about it. You got to win competition. You got to get your hands bloody. You got to make moves. You can't just play the middle and coast to the jury or coast to the end. That's just not how Big Brother works. Mallory's a hell of a competitor, but you just win and figure out what you're going to do later instead of throwing competitions at the end of the day. It was a terrible game move for her. I don't think she beats D, but I think it's a lot. Well, it was pretty damn close. It was 2 seconds. But that's what happens when you throw competition. Mallory finished with 52 seconds, which is not enough to beat D, so she's eliminated. Devin is up next. Devin's timed out. So he is eliminated as well. Barrett. Now, this is the one that I was really talking about the most. He has finished second in 3 competitions, and he just has not wanted to show his cards this entire season. There's been several different comps that he could have won. He is very good at comps. I think he has a chance to win this game if he can get. Well, I don't know now. Once we'll talk, but we'll talk about why. But he can win comps. But he 100% had D beat, but he slowed down. He just did not want to show Yasha's side of the house or the icons what he was going to do. So, like, he would have beat D by 5 or 6 seconds easily. But he definitely threw the competition. Mallory, I don't think she beat D either way. But Barrett 100% through the competition. Barrett finished with 51 seconds. He was hitting the buzzer as it was going to that one on the 51. So Barrett, 51 seconds. D is still in the lead. Last person up is Melody. She flopped. She also timed out. So your winner of the HOH competition, hosted by Paul Abraham, North by Northwest, is D. This is her second HOH reign. She is the first House Cats member this season to win 2 HOHs. It was very close. Barry finished with an incredible 51 seconds. Mallory was right behind at 52. But D beat them both to a blazing 50-second performance. D wins HOH. After sitting on the block last week, D was now the most powerful person in the house, and her victory meant something bigger. The icons are back. After the last 2 weeks of the power shifted to the other side of the house, the icons have regained power in this game. They're back in control. D had Angela firmly in her corner, while Devins continued operating as one of the most strategically active players in the game. There was also that lingering BB bribe that D offered to Yash last week, and he declined. Will that come into factor this week? So, let's talk about the BB bribe. So, going into this HOH, Angela has a good relationship with Lala, has a good relationship with Haley. Devins also has a semi-good relationship with Haley, but D and Haley not so much. So their goal this week was Angela really wanted D to try to make amends with Haley, because at the end of the day, you need numbers. So they were all very strategically sound this week with D and Devin working a lot of damage control and bringing Haley over to the icon side. So they didn't show us on the feeds, which I hate when they do that, but they had a meeting with the icons, and D told D is the one that come up with this plan. She said last time she didn't do this, when she offered Yash the bribe last time to keep her and Angela off the block last week, she actually never took the coin out and put it in his hand. So she told Devins and Angela the plan, so they called Yash up there. I didn't see it on the feeds. They just showed it on the show. But Yash accepted the $5,000 BB bribe. But here's the kicker. Yash cannot put up D, Devins, or Angela on his next HOH reign. So it doesn't matter if he wins HOH. Well, I'll spoil it, but if he wins the HOH again in 2 weeks, he cannot put up any three of the icons. He cannot put them up as an original nom. He cannot put them up as a renom. So everybody that thought this BB Bribe was just a shitty power, which I did myself, but D actually turned this power into something very powerful. During her meeting with Yash, she told Yash, like, it seemed like they kind of squashed it, but even though they really didn't, Yash was like hesitant or whatever. But he did accept the bribe, but it was the bribe is binding, but D also told Yash that she would not nominate him this week. So yeah. Good power move by D with the $5,000 bribe. But now Yash is $5,000 richer. If D leaves the game before he wins HOH, he still gets to keep the $5,000. So, but if Yash turns around and wins HOH, he cannot nominate D, Angela, or Rick Devins. So definitely a power move by D to keep all of herself and all of the other two members of her Icon Alliance safe. So one hell of a move in my book. On paper, D's position suddenly looked fantastic, but the alliance structure around her was becoming increasingly unstable. The wolf pack has already blown up. The crossover in the mosh pit was dismantling, and the tool shed was rapidly headed towards complete destruction. Week 7 was beginning to look less like one alliance fighting another, and more like everyone scrambling to find where they belong. So, before we get to the nominations, Dee's original plan was to put up Lala, Taylor, and Yash, but she did agree to not put Yash on the block. So they wanted to build, even though Yash don't trust him, and I don't think they're ever going to work together moving forward in the game, but I've seen stranger things happen. They did not want to nominate him, even though that was not a binding part of that bribe. The only thing that's binding is that Yash cannot use his HOH and put any three of those, Angela, D, or Devins up. That's the only thing that's binding. But D and Devin want to try to build some sort of rapport and trust. So when they got ready to do the nomination, Yash started planting seeds. Yash is one hell of a player. I think if he gets to the end, he probably wins. Depends on who he's up against. I think he beats everybody, but maybe Devins. I don't know. We'll see. But Yash started planting seeds about Drew, saying that Drew was the one that was pushing for D to go up last week. So they have this big, huge house meeting in the HOH room with the whole mosh pit with Yash and Drew. And Dee's talked about how she's been sketched about Drew for a long time. And whatever Yash said to her was very convincing. Obviously, Yash said it in front of Drew's face that, you know, he was a part of the whole conversation. So after that conversation, D met with Barrett because at this point in the game, D trusted Barrett. I was like, I'm really considering was honest with Lala and Taylor about putting them up. But the third nom was difficult because she didn't want to put up Yash, and really it was either somebody from the mosh pit or Haley, and she was working on building that relationship with Haley. She said she felt bad for Haley. She had a couple of bad weeks, so she didn't want to put her on the chopping block. So the numbers are starting to dwindle down, so it starts to get limited. So D ends up telling Barrett that she is going to nominate Drew. She even tells him. But Drew is so attached to the icons that it doesn't really matter what they do at this point. She let him know that he's safe either way it goes, which, in my opinion, you know, we'll get to it later, but if he didn't win Blockbuster night, Drew was going home. So But let's get to the nomination ceremony. This was absolutely insane. So D ultimately nominated Lala, Taylor, and Drew. But after the nomination, so Lala, Taylor, and Drew became initial nominations. But the nominations immediately created more chaos. So at the nomination ceremony, Taylor stood up and was like, said something to Drew, and it completely broke down. It was on the TV show. Lala was going back and forth with Drew, called him a liar, the biggest liar in the game, the biggest liar she knew. Taylor stood up and was screaming at Drew. But Drew stood his ground, and Drew called all of them out on what they've been saying about the icons, and ultimately gained all the trust that Dee did not have for Drew back. Because when the Beats came back from the nomination, they were all hugging at the end of the day. So that's really all they really wanted to see was Drew did not stand up for himself in that meeting in the room, but he did stand up for himself at that nomination ceremony. And ultimately, I'm sure at that point Dee felt bad about putting him up, but you can't change your nomination at this point. But the drama after the nomination ceremony was absolutely crazy. So Drew began scrambling hard, trying to demonstrate why keeping him around could benefit the icons. At the same time, Taylor and Lala confronted one another over who had been pushing hardest for Dee to become a target the previous week. Trust was disappearing fast. But Dee's original nomination would ultimately define her HOH, because behind the scenes, as I said, when Devin was working out, he was starting to plant seeds, talking to the camera, saying that if the power veto was used, that they need to get out Mallory. So there was a big plan the entire week that they really worked on trying to get Mallory out. Slowly, he started pushing an entirely different idea to Dee, a move that would eventually put Mallory in danger later on. But as week 7 unfolded, Devins would begin looking more and more like the person quietly pulling the strings. And before Mallory could become the target, somebody would first have to win the power veto. So he already planted the seed before the veto. If the veto was used, the plans were set in motion by Devins to backdoor Mallory. And they immediately went to work trying to get the number, trying to get Haley. Haley and Taylor have a rocky relationship. There was also a fight on the feed with Taylor and Angela, and Haley butted in. There's been fights and drama just all week. So all these people that are hating the Survivor people being on the game, this has been one of the most entertaining seasons to watch on the feeds. So that is the end of part 1. With Lala, Taylor, and Drew are the nominees, and Yash did accept the bribe, $5,000. He cannot nominate Dee, Devins, or Angela on his next HOH win. Part 2, the target begins to shift with Dee holding the week 7 HOH. And Lala, Drew, and Taylor sitting on the block. The icons have regained power at exactly the right time. Almost immediately, Dee's HOH became much more complicated than simply deciding which of her original nominees she wanted gone. When she first made her nomination, Drew was kind of semi the target, but if it wasn't Drew, it was going to be Taylor. Ultimately, it was Taylor at first before they ended up catching Drew and all his lies. Taylor was the original target. The house changed so many times this week, and Devins was beginning to see an opportunity. The alliance structure is crumbling. Week 7 continued the destruction of several alliances that had once looked important. The Wolfpack was already blown up following everything that happened between Devins, Kamu, Dee, and Yash. The Mosh Pit, which had connected Devins, Dee, Angela, Drew, Barrett, Melody, and Mallory, was also falling apart. Eventually, there would be no question about another former structure. The tool shed was destroyed. The house was becoming increasingly fluid. Instead of a large alliances controlling the game, smaller relationships were beginning to matter much more. That made week 7 especially dangerous. Nobody could completely be sure where everybody else stood. Dee's original plan. At the beginning of Dee's HOH, the three nominees gave her several possible directions. Lala was dangerous. Now let's talk about Lala for a second. After she was nominated, she had a conversation with Angela. She is close with Angela. She told Angela that she wanted to work out something with Dee. That was on the feeds. She told Dee that if she won HOH, she would not put her up. She wanted to work with her. And when Dee told her she was considering putting her on the block, she told Dee that she never said icons. That she said icon, but she only meant Rick Devens. So that's Dee number one. So that's automatically an ultimate. Your ass is going on the block. But then ultimately Lala told Devin she wanted to work with him as well. So the icons are slowly but surely trying to insulate. But are these people really going to keep the icons safe? Is the ultimate answer or big ultimate question there. Lala was dangerous because she had already proven she could win major competitions. Taylor had relationships that could become threatening if she survived deep in the game. And Drew had become increasingly difficult for Dee or anyone in the house to trust. Drew knew it. After hitting the block, he began scrambling hard, trying to convince the icons that keeping them was beneficial to their game. But while Drew was fighting to improve his position, another group was becoming increasingly obvious. Mallory, Melody, Drew, and Barrett. Devin began looking at those relationships. So that is the FAP, the For the American People. And I love Devin's gameplay here because if they get to the end, or if all four are made jury, ultimately they decide who wins the game. And if they get much farther, they control the entire. Once you get to like past final eight, they control the numbers every single week. So splitting up that four was definitely a great strategic play by Devin, Dee, and Angela. Devin began looking at those relationships, saw an opportunity to break up a dangerous cluster of players, and one name increasingly stood out. She is the pipe queen herself, Mallory. Devin started planting seeds. This will eventually become one of the most important strategic developments of Week 7. Devin began planting the idea with Dee that Mallory should become the replacement nominee if someone else besides her won the power of veto. He pushed the idea that separating Mallory, Melody, Drew, and Barrett could benefit the icon side of the house. He ultimately controlled the nominations. But Devin was helping shape the direction. Slowly, the possibility of simply evicting one of the original nominees began turning into something way bigger. A potential Mallory backdoor. And Angela was on board as well, as her and Devin met in the gym, and they were both on the same page about that. But was this actually good for Dee? Strategically, there was a serious argument that targeting Mallory could be a huge mistake for Dee because Dee is super close with Barrett. Barrett is super duper close with Mallory, and then also Melody, Dee. Mallory, Melody, Drew, and Barrett are in the FAP, but they're also part of the mosh pit. So Dee's getting her hands are covered in blood at this point. Strategically, there is a serious argument that targeting Mallory could be a mistake for Dee. Mallory and Melody were certainly dangerous to the icons because at the end of the day, both of them, if they won HOH or got power, they were going to put the icons on the block. So, and Dee and Devin and Angela all knew that. So, I was questioning the move, but at the same time, I was like, why not just put Yash up? He can't put you up next week. Maybe you get him out, but if you get him out, then you have to worry about the rest of the house putting you up at that time. But if you leave Yash in the game, maybe you start to build some trust with Yash. And if he wins HOH, he can't put you up anyway for the first HOH. So I definitely questioned Dee's move, but ultimately it was the right move. Dee also risked doing something even more dangerous, taking out someone who wasn't necessarily her biggest immediate threat, while creating a fierce enemy if Mallory survived. And there was another problem. If Devins was the person pushing the move while D was the HOH, actually making it, D would receive the blame while Devins could potentially avoid it. That's something that's going to come into play hopefully later on in the season. That distinction would become extremely important later. So Devins and D began to work on Haley, as I talked about in part 1. While the Mallory plan developed, D and Devins had also been working throughout the week to bring Haley closer as an ally. With the old alliance structures collapsing, adding another number could become extremely valuable. Haley had survived the block the previous week, and now both D and Devins saw potential value in strengthening their relationship with Haley. It was another example of Devins working multiple angles at once. That's why I believe Devins is playing the best game right now. He wasn't HOH, he wasn't one of the nominees, but his fingerprints were beginning to appear everywhere. The Puppet Master story begins. At this stage, D still appeared to be running week 7. She had won the HOH North by Northwest. She had nominated Lala, Drew, and Taylor. She had Angela beside her. Yash had accepted her $5,000 BB bribe, to where whenever it is, on his next HOH reign, he cannot nominate any of the 3 icons, Angela, D, or Devins. The icons appeared to have regained control. Underneath all of that, Devins was quietly influencing where D's HOH could ultimately go. If the veto wasn't used, none of it would matter, and Taylor would go home. But if one of D's nominees came down, Devins already had Mallory's name ready. So, in the upcoming Power of Veto competition was about to give him, we're going to see if that's going to give him the opening that he needed. So, the Week 7 status at end of Part 2, HOH is D. The nominees are Lala, Drew, and Taylor. Primary emergent target, if presented as Mallory plan being pushed heavily by Devins and also Angela. D and Devins working to pull Haley closer. Toolshed destroyed, Mosh Pit falling apart. Icons back in power for now. Player quietly gaining influence with Devins. So we're going to move on to Part 3. Part 3 is titled Feel the Burn. With D as HOH and Lala and Drew and Taylor sitting on the block, Week 7 reached the Power of Veto. And this veto is especially important. Behind the scenes, Devin was pushing D toward Mallory as a potential replacement nominee. That plan could only become reality if someone actually came off of the block. For Lala, Drew, and Taylor, the goal is much simpler. Win the veto, and that is your only way to guarantee safety in this game. So, let's go to the Power of Veto. Tom Laser transported the house guests back to August 26, 1982. Waiting for them was one of the strangest workout sessions of the summer. Power of Veto was called Feel the Burn. The players selecting the veto, obviously it would be D, the HOH. The 3 nominees, Drew, Lala, and Taylor, and D selected Barrett and Angela to round out the 6. So it'd be D, Lala, Taylor, Drew, Angela, and Barrett competing in this Power Veto competition called Feel the Burn. And Mallory was the host. So basically how this competition works is going to be separated into 3 rounds. The first round, they're going to be sitting on a chair. And they're it looks like they're kind of twerking, but they're moving like their hips from one side to the other. And each time they go do a complete from the left to the right, the ticker goes to 1. So they have, I think it's like 10 minutes or so to get as many of those crunch type things as they can get. And this is elimination type. Whoever finishes with the lowest amount would be eliminated. And there would be 3 different rounds to this. Each round required them to perform a specific exercise or movement on a different machine. After every round, someone will be eliminated. Survive every exercise, and the Power of Veto was yours. Round 1 was called the Booty Scoot. Competition began with the Booty Scoot. So, like I said, you're sitting your ass on a chair, and you're scooting back and forth in 10 minutes. That is a workout if you haven't done it. It is a workout. So after 10 minutes, Angela and Drew were the two lowest scorers. So they have been eliminated. So that is one of the nominees that is eliminated. That was particularly bad news for Drew, already sitting on the block, scrambling to repair this in the house. Drew had lost his first opportunity to guarantee his own safety. Next up, they're standing up, but they got a piece right here on the top of their left hip, and a piece on the top of their right hip. This is called the hip shake. So they're going to be moving their hips back and forth as fast as they possibly can. At this point, the only people left is Lala, Dee, Barrett, and Taylor. So after 10 minutes, this looked very difficult. Dee was ultimately the one that was eliminated in the second round of this hip shake. She finished 13 or 14 behind, 12 behind Taylor, or 10 behind Taylor and 14 behind Barrett, I believe. So the HOH was out. Dee was out. So now we're down to two nominees and Barrett again. Barrett's always right there at the end. Barrett, Lala, and Taylor were left. Dee would now have to watch the remaining player determine whether she would be forced to make another nomination. And with Dee eliminated, Devin's proposed Mallory plan. Devin's proposed Mallory plan is suddenly dependent entirely on someone else winning and using the power of veto. So we're down to three. Eventually, the competition narrowed to Barrett, Taylor, and Lala. Three players remain. This will be the last part of the power of veto competition. For Taylor and Lala, winning meant escaping Dee's nomination. For Barrett, means winning his first competition, but it could give him significant influence over how the rest of Dee's HOH played out. So the final round is called the tubular tongue twister. So they're sitting up there like you're at the dentist office or something, and they got this little thing. It's like a clip, and you take your tongue and you move your tongue, and you have to push the clip back and forth with your tongue. And it was like watching some kind of crazy movie that you guys probably shouldn't be watching. I can't believe they put this shit on national TV. As fast as you can move your tongue to move that thing back and forth, you're gonna, you get a point. Lala was absolutely just going to town on that thing. I'll say 10 minutes on this as well. So the last three competitors faced the tubular tongue twister, where their scores would determine the week 7 veto winner. So when they were complete, and Taylor and Barrett struggled mightily with this. They talked about even that the clicker thing that they had to move had some weight on it. Freaky ass competition. It was 1,000,000%. It was really freaky, and you should have seen what they were talking about on the feeds. So Barrett finishes with a score of 37, which was not good. Like I said, he struggled mightily. I saw Dee over there, and she was like, Barrett seems like he needs. I'm not really supposed to say this kind of stuff on YouTube. Hopefully they don't fucking copyright me. But Dee said Barrett looks like he needs some practice with his tongue. So we'll leave it at that. I'm not gonna go any further with that. Someone in production is watching too much X-rated content. Yes. So then Taylor finished with a score of 42, but Lala was just killing it from start to finish. She finished with a score of 65. So this Lala has won the Golden Power of Veto as a nominee. She won the wall comp as an HOH, and now she has her first veto win. This was not even close. Lala destroyed them. With an impressive 65 turns by the tongue from Lala, she defeats Taylor 42 and Barrett 37 to capture the week 7 power of veto. After winning the wall HOH early in the season at 58 years old, Lala once again showed that she could deliver when a competition mattered. More importantly, Lala had just saved her game. And now Devins has his opening. Lala's victory meant Dee's nominations were about to change. There were virtually no question what Lala would do with the veto. Once she removed herself, Dee would have to name a replacement nominee. And Devins had spent the week pushing one name harder and harder. And that was Mallory. What had started as an idea was suddenly one veto ceremony away from becoming reality. The question was no longer whether D could nominate Mallory. Now it was whether D would actually follow through, and if she did, Mallory was not going to take it quietly. So we'll touch on this a little bit. So the crossovers, which is D, Devins, Drew, Drew, Barrett, Angela. So D and Devins talked to Drew and Barrett about this potential renom of Mallory, and obviously that is part of the FAP, which is Mallory, Melody, Drew, and Barrett. So obviously they're not going to be okay with it. Drew is way more on board with it than Barrett. This is probably where I feel like the Icons definitely lost Barrett for the rest of the game, but we'll see. Barrett played along, but he was really pissed off at the end of the day. So at the end of part 3, HOH is D. Initial nominees are Lala, Drew, and Taylor. The veto competition called Feel the Burn was won by Lala. August 26, 1982. The final round was won by Lala. The tubular tongue twister, 65 points for Lala, 42 for Taylor, 37 for Barrett. Power of Veto winner is Lala. Potential replacement nominee is Mallory. Devin's playing one step from becoming reality. So we'll go to part 4. It has 11 parts, guys. We're far from done. We're over an hour in. So, part 4, Devin pulls the strings. Lala had done exactly what she needed to do after dominating the veto competition. Feel the Burn with 65 turns in the final round. She held the Week 7 power veto and finally had control of her own fate. For D, however, Lala's victory created a much bigger division, and Devins had been preparing for this moment all week. So we get to the veto ceremony. Unlike last week where there was a crap ton of drama, which that happened at the HOH nomination ceremony last, at D's nomination ceremony, there was not as much drama at the power veto. There was a little suspense trying to what Lala would do. She was sitting on a block. Lala has chosen to use the power veto on herself, which will remove her from the chopping block. So now it is D's responsibility to name a 4th house guest. Again, just like she had to do in week 4. So it's the second time D's had to put up 4 people on her HOH. Lala officially removed herself from the block. I led D needing a replacement nominee. So she went back and forth between Yash, Mallory, and Haley. So ultimately, D renominates Mallory of the Mosh Pit Alliance and the FAP. And Mallory is not happy in her DR. She was going absolutely insane. Mallory became the Week 7 replacement nominee. So the final 3 heading towards the BB Blockbuster and the 1000th episode of Big Brother is going to be Drew, Taylor, and Mallory. But the story behind Mallory's nomination was arguably more important than the nomination itself. Devin's the puppet master. As the episode revealed more of what happened behind the scenes, it became increasingly clear that Devins had played a major role in getting Mallory onto the block. Devin was the one who initially planted the seeds with D, but also when D was talking to Haley, D asked Haley who she would nominate if she won HOH next week, and she also brought up the name Mallory. So everybody was kind of on board with the Mallory situation. He pushed the argument that breaking apart the group surrounding Mallory, Melody, Drew, and Barrett, the FAP alliance, would benefit D and the Icons. Eventually, D bought into it. D was HOH. D made the nomination. Devin helped engineer the move from behind the scenes that earned him one of the biggest subscriptions of Week 7, Puppet Master. Without winning HOH, Devin managed to heavily influence what D did with hers, and strategically that was potentially perfect for him, as Mallory, besides Josh, was, in my opinion, Barrett's a good comp player, but Mallory was definitely up there behind Josh as the next biggest comp draft. If Mallory left, one of his targets disappeared, but if the move blew up, D was the HOH whose name was attached to it. Mallory is furious. Mallory did not take the replacement nomination well. She talked about Dee was a terrible person. Should have never won Survivor, so she was going to take Dee's pictures of her family and take them home with her. She was screaming in the DR. Truthfully, she was acting like a 16-year-old girl. This is a game at the end of the day. I do love Mallory, but she was acting like a child. This is a game at the end of the day. After Dee put her on the block, Mallory went to the diary room, made her feelings about Dee extremely clear. She was furious. So she never trusted the mosh pit. She never showed through the competition. That's what you get for throwing HOHs. Mallory blasted Dee in her DR session and made it obvious that whatever trust might have existed between the two has been damaged. That created a dangerous possibility for Dee. If Mallory survived the week, Dee could potentially have created another enemy who would come directly after her. So what may have started as a plan to weaken another group suddenly carried much bigger consequences. Dee now needed Mallory gone. Was this actually Dee's best move? This became one of the biggest strategic questions of Week 7. There was logic behind targeting Mallory. Mallory and Melody were capable of targeting the icons if they gained power, and the combination of Mallory, Melody, Drew, and Barrett was ultimately just way too dangerous not to split up. But Dee had also allowed Devins to steer her toward making a move that could potentially benefit his game more than hers. Devins gained influence, Dee gained blood on her hands, and Mallory gained a reason to come after Dee. That difference could matter enormously later, or will it? The house keeps breaking apart. At the same time, the old alliance map was becoming almost useless. The tool shed was destroyed. The mosh pit was dead to the water. Old allies were reconsidering their relationship. With only 10 players set to remain after the upcoming eviction, individual loyalties were becoming much more important than the alliance names. That instability was about to produce one of the biggest late week shifts yet. Because while Dee and Devins believed they had successfully put Mallory in danger, Barrett was beginning to reconsider which side he wanted to fight for. And another player was about to make a surprising declaration in the diary room. Melody also was prepared to turn on Drew. So we'll go to part 5 and we'll talk about that. So, Mallory completely, after the renom, she went to work with Melody. Barrett spilled the beans about everything about him and Drew working with the icons since the beginning, telling Mallory that Drew had planned to vote her out, and Barrett was just not playing the icons game anymore. He is finally waking up after 7 weeks in the game. So the ultimate plan, as I said at the beginning of the stream, is this was do or die for Drew, even though they had the FAP with Drew, Barrett, Melody, and Mallory. In my opinion, I still feel like if Drew doesn't win Blockbuster and Mallory does, and it's Drew and Taylor going to eviction, Barrett and Melody and Mallory are probably voting Drew out. So, but are they? We will never know. But it seemed like through the feeds and everything they were saying that they were all leaning toward voting Drew out. So part 5, the vote flips on Drew. With Lala being safe after using the power of veto, Dee's replacement nomination of Mallory locked in the 3 players who would compete in the Week 7 BB Blockbuster, the Drew, Taylor, and Mallory. On paper, Dee and the icons appeared to have gotten exactly what they wanted, but during the final stretch before eviction night, the house shifted again. And suddenly, Mallory wasn't necessarily the person in the most danger. Barrett turned on the icons. A late night surge began developing around Barrett. Barrett started moving away from the icons and toward a group consisted of Yash, Taylor, Melody, Mallory, and Lala. It was another major sign that the old alliance structure had collapsed. Barrett was sick of the icon stuff, especially because they nominated Mallory his number 1, which Barrett was acting like Dee was his number 1, but Dee wasn't giving him the time of day. I think that's really honestly what I had to do with. Dee just plays that way in all these games. She just flirts. and all that. So Barrett had previously been closely connected with Drew, Melody, and Mallory through For the American People, and he also was a big part of the larger mosh pit structure that was made right before Devins used the Diamond Power Veto, and ultimately they honestly did use them to help get Common out. Barrett was prepared to turn on the Icons and also on Drew, and that dramatically changed the potential eviction. Melody is also ready to evict Drew. Once she found out that he had been lying to her this entire time about working with the Icons, she said she was done with Drew. She was very visibly upset. In the diary room, Melody said that if the final nominees were Drew and Mallory, she was going to vote to evict Drew, and so would Barrett. So, but the thing is the Icons didn't know this, so they kept telling him that it would be maybe at worst a 4-4 vote, and that D would break the tie and send Mallory home. But if it would have ended up Drew and Mallory, Drew would have went home on a vote of 5-3, and the Icons would have been blindsided. Drew and Melody had been one of the closest relationships in the house, developing to a showman during the season. But when faced with the possibility of choosing between Drew and Mallory, Melody chose her best friend Mallory. For Drew, that was a brutal sign of just how far his position had fallen. Drew, win or go home. Suddenly the math looked completely different. If Drew lost this BB blockbuster and remained on the block besides Mallory or Taylor, the votes appeared to be forming to send him home. Barrett's late flip gave the anti-Drew side another potential number. Melody had already revealed she was willing to evict him, and players including Yash. Now, Yash and Lala were never evicting Taylor. It was never happening. If it was Taylor and Mallory, Lala and Yash were never evicting Taylor. Players including Yash, Taylor, Mallory, and Lala were increasingly connected to the shifting group. After spending much of the week trying to improve his usefulness to the Icons, Drew entered eviction night facing a completely different reality. Win the blockbuster or possibly go home. It was an incredible reversal. D had started the week by nominating Lala, Drew, and Taylor. Devins then pushed D towards using Mallory as a replacement nominee, but by eviction night, the House had maneuvered itself in a position where Drew could eventually become the casualty of D's HOH, which would not have been a successful HOH for D. Devins' position keeps improving. While everyone else scrambled, Devins continued to sit in an entry position. He had helped convince D to nominate Mallory without having to make the move himself. He had been working with D to strengthen their relationship with Haley, and while alliances around him continued to collapse, Devins remained deeply involved in the strategic conversations shaping the House. Week 7 was increasingly becoming a showcase of how dangerous Devins could be without actually holding former power. But his plan wasn't guaranteed to work. Mallory could win the blockbuster, Taylor could win it, or Drew could save himself and force the House to make an entirely different decision. And this wasn't just an ordinary eviction night. While the Week 7 vote had become chaotic enough on its own, this particular Thursday carried much greater significance. This wasn't simply another episode of Big Brother. This was episode number 1,000. 1,000 episodes for Big Brother. Congratulations to them. Julie Chen Moonves opened the night celebrating the historic milestone. Big Brother legends from all the seasons past. Rachel Riley's, Alyssa Slater's, Janelle's, Dan Giesland, Cameron, Morgan Pope. You could see all of them sitting out in the crowd. The cookout was present as well. So let's talk about the Fan Vote Awards for some of these Big Brother legends. Recognize some of the greatest players, alliances, quotes, and moments in the show's history. And also Guinness World Records had 2 special announcements. Hanging over everything was Julie's biggest tease of them all that would shape and restructure and change the Big Brother Season 28 game, and something that has a never before seen twist was coming. Julie promised the twist would completely reshape the game, but before Big Brother could reveal its future, the show was about to spend some time celebrating its past. So we're going to move to part 6. Part 6. Big Brother celebrates 1,000 episodes. Before the Week 7 BB blockbuster and eviction could take center stage, Big Brother stopped to celebrate one of the biggest milestones in franchise history, episode number 1,000. Julie Chen Moonves opened the night by acknowledging this was officially the 1,000th episode they showed from our very first episode all the way through the seasons, all the drama, all the fights, all the showmances, all that stuff. From the very first United States episode of Big Brother was July 5th of 2000, all the way to this historic night on August 27th, 2026. Generations of house guests, competition, blindsides, alliances, fights, friendships, showmatches, unforgettable moments have brought the show to episode 1000. And Big Brother wasn't celebrating alone. Big Brother Legends returned. The camera showed numerous former Big Brother players, such as Morgan Pope, Rachel Riley, Alyssa Slater, Cameron, Keanu from last season, Morgan Pope, and several other ones in the crowd. Dan Gieselin, the cookout. It immediately made the night feel different from a normal eviction episode. This wasn't only about Big Brother 28, it was a celebration of the entire history of the show. The episode began looking back at some of the crazy and most memorable moments from previous seasons, including legendary strategy, iconic alliances, unforgettable quotes, competition performance, and past showmances. One moment received an especially big spotlight, and that was Dan's funeral. If you guys haven't seen that season of Dan Gieselin, you need to watch the episode with Dan's funeral. Absolutely the biggest iconic. Definitely one of my favorite, if not the favorite part of Big Brother 14. Dan Gieselin's legendary Dan funeral from Big Brother 14 was highlighted during the retrospective. The remove remains one of the most famous strategic moments in Big Brother history. And so the fans voted on all this. So that actually won the award on Dan's funeral. So best moments. Best moment goes to Dan's funeral. Dan's funeral was officially recognized as the fan favorite best moment during the episode 1000 celebration. Dan did come up, talked about how much he loved the game. He wasn't always the biggest, the strongest, the fastest, but he grew up watching the game, watching Dr. Will, on how he just beat people with his brain, strategically beating people, and that's the way Dan Gieselin, and in my opinion, he is the greatest Big Brother player of all time, up there with Derek and Dr. Will as well. And then they also had Janelle. Dan said he's going for the person that plays the best game. I love Dan. He's an absolute icon. Dan wouldn't be finished collecting honors, Big Brother showmances. The retrospective also celebrated the romantic relationship with showmances that become a memorable part of Big Brother history. Over 1,000 episodes of the game produced relationships that range from strategic partnerships to connections continuing outside the house. It was another reminder that Big Brother has always been about more than competitions and votes. The cookout. They all also came onto the stage after winning an award. Another historic part of the retrospective focused on the cookout from Big Brother Season 23. The six-person alliance successfully reached the final six together. All six members of the cookout made it all the way to the final six, with eventually Xavier Prater winning Big Brother Season 23. When the fans were asked to choose their favorite alliance in Big Brother history, it was the cookout. And they talked about how they were honored that people were still talking about the cookout since Big Brother Season 23. So, Big Brother 28 gets its own historic moment. Also, Janelle received biggest comp beast and also another award as well. She came up. She actually said she was rooting for. She thought Mallory was going to win the blockbuster, but she's ultimately rooting for Taylor. Dan also said that the person that he feels is the icon in his eyes, the best Big Brother player that's never won the game was Janelle, and she actually got that award for the best Big Brother player to never win Big Brother, and that was Janelle, who finished third twice. So the retrospective wasn't limited to older seasons. Big Brother 28 received recognition as well. The show highlighted Lala's Wall HOH victory at 58 years old, celebrating one of the standout competition performances of the current season. And finally, Lala entered the 1,000th episode, still very much alive in the game, after winning another crucial power veto competition. Janelle Perzina wins twice. Then one of Big Brother's most recognizable legends received not one but two fan-voted honors. Best to never win the game was Janelle, and also the favorite competition beast. She was an absolute competition beast. Over 10 comp wins in her season. It was hard to get her out. She won so many comps that they could not take her to the end. After the awards were revealed, Janelle joined Julie on stage. For a player whose Big Brother legacy has remained strong despite never winning the game, receiving both honors during episode 1000 was a fitting recognition. An iconic Big Brother quote. The fans also voted on their favorite iconic quote. The winner was one of the most recognizable lines in Big Brother history, and that goes to Rachel Riley, who Julie Chen has asked her to say it in the crowd. Floaters, you better grab a life vest. That is still a thing today, and that has been going on for years. Rachel Riley with floaters, you better grab a life vest. Floaters, you better grab a life vest. Another classic piece of Big Brother history officially received its place in the episode 1000 celebration. The favorite Big Brother winner of all time, voted by the fans, was Dan Gieselin. Dan wasn't finished. After Dan's funeral won Best Moment, Dan himself received another major award for the favorite Big Brother winner of all time. So Dan and Janelle both racked up two of the fan favorite awards. Dan joined Julie on stage, giving the historic episode another live appearance from one of Big Brother's biggest legends. That meant two legendary players have now received special onstage recognition: Janelle Perzina and Dan Gieselin. Episode 1000 Fan Awards. By this point, the major fan voted honors included Best Moment, Dan's funeral, Best to Never Win, Janelle, Favorite Competition Beast, Janelle, Favorite Alliance, The Cookout, Favorite Iconic Quote, Floaters, you better grab a life vest, and favorite winner is Dan Gieselin. It was a celebration spanning multiple eras of Big Brother, but there was still another historic announcement coming. Representatives from the Guinness Book of World Records were in attendance, and they had something very special to present to Julie Chen and Big Brother. At the same time, Julie continued teasing the night's other huge development, a never-before-seen twist that would completely reshape the game. First, Big Brother was about to officially enter the record books. The Guinness World Records honored Big Brother with two major records. The 1000th episode celebration reaches its peak, and then the game. Okay, so we're going to move on to part 7 for that. Part 7, entitled Big Brother Enters the Record Books. The celebration of Big Brother historic 1000 episode continued with another major moment. Throughout the night, legends from previous seasons filled the audience. Classic moments were revisited, and fan-voted awards honored some of the biggest names and moments in Big Brother history. And now it was time to make the milestone official. Guinness Book of World Records takes the stage. A representative from Guinness Book of World Records was in attendance and had teased a very special announcement for Big Brother, and it wasn't just one recognition. Big Brother received 2 Guinness Book of World records. Big Brother was recognized for most competitions on a reality television show. So congratulations to Big Brother, you are in the Guinness Book of World Records. And the second award, the most episodes of a primetime reality television show, goes to Big Brother as well. So Big Brother received 2 awards from Guinness Book of World Records. Reaching 1,000 episodes officially placed Big Brother into the record book. After beginning its U.S. run on July 5th, 2000, the show had now reached a milestone few television programs ever or will achieve. 26 years of competition, nominations, vetoes, evictions, blindsides, alliances, betrayals, showmances, and unforgettable characters have led to this moment. But after spending much of the night celebrating Big Brother's past, it was finally time to return to Big Brother 28. And one current house guest was about to face the biggest competition of the season. So it's time for the BB Blockbuster, which will be Drew, Taylor, and Mallory. Lala had originally been one of Dee's nominees, but her power of veto victory and feel the burn allowed herself to remove herself from a chopping block. Dee nominated Mallory in her place after Devin spent the week planting the seeds. That ball drew Taylor and Mallory to the final competition before the eviction. For all three players, when winning meant safety for Drew, it potentially meant everything. So the house has shifted dramatically during the final hours of eviction. Barrett had turned against Drew and the Icons and moved towards Yash, Taylor, Melody, Mallory, and Lala. Even more surprisingly, Melody admitted to Barrett, Mallory, and in her DR that she would vote Drew out over Mallory and Taylor. The votes appeared to be forming. If Drew remained on the block after the blockbuster, his game would be over. So when Julie sent the three nominees into the BB Blockbuster, Drew was staring at what appeared to be a simple reality: win or go home. So let's go to the BB Blockbuster. And the title of the BB Blockbuster, all three are standing at the podium. They have three letters, A, B, and C. So the BB Blockbuster was called the BB Grand Cliptacular. And how this competition works is when Julie says go, they will all three run to the other side of the stadium, not stadium, but the space they were in. They would be given a clue. Then there would be three different screens on the wall with all different memories all over the past seasons of Big Brother. What they needed to do was from the clue, they needed to find the letter that represented the clues that were presented to them. So the first clue says something about I'm trying to remember what it said. I don't really remember what the first clue said. Drew spotted the clue immediately, so he immediately ran back for the second clue, which said something about partying and confetti, and obviously Drew spotted that. So there was also another clue, which Drew did not even see, because after the second clue, Drew immediately ran back to his booth and hit the letter C. But after that, then he went back while Mallory and Taylor were still looking at the screens and the clues. And the last clue was, this letter will contain something not including Rachel Riley. So then by that time, Mallory makes her way back. She obviously was probably going to hit the letter C. I don't know that at that point there was either B or A left. She ended up hitting the letter A, which left Taylor with the letter B. So Drew chose letter C, Mallory chose letter A, and Taylor was left with letter B. But Drew was first to chime in before all the clues were out. So the three competitors had to carefully study clues and determine which video screen correctly matched them. For each question, they have three possible answers, A, B, or C. Players needed to process the clues, study the screens, and select the correct answer that matched all three clues. It was a test of observation, memory, and speed. Drew needed the performance of his lifetime in the season, and he ultimately delivered. Julie announced that letter C was the correct answer. Drew went absolutely ballistic, and he has won the BB Blockbuster. Not only did Drew win, it wasn't even close. As I said, he chimed in after the second clue, did not wait for the last one, and ultimately it paid off, as Drew has won his second BB Blockbuster competition and has now removed himself from the chopping block, as we will go to the eviction, which will be Mallory, who is the backdoor target, and also Taylor. So I want to state this before we go into the eviction vote. If you go back to every single week, the person that has been renommed has went home. And that trend, will that trend continue tonight? We will find out. But that is an interesting fact that I studied moving forward. Every person that has been renommed, not originally nommed, has eventually went home. So Drew dominated the BB Grand Spectacular, securing safety when the house appeared ready to send him home. The late night plan to target Drew had been completely destroyed by one competition performance. Barrett could flip, Melody could turn on him, the boats could be sitting there waiting. None of it mattered anymore. Drew was safe, and Barrett looked like he had seen a ghost. He was immediately starting to cry. For someone whose game looked like it might be ending only moments earlier, it was one of the most important competition victories of the season. Everything changes again. With Drew removed from the danger, the eviction immediately became Taylor versus Mallory, and now everyone had to rethink the vote. The late night movement had largely centered around what would happen if Drew remained vulnerable. He wasn't. I left Mallory, the replacement nominee. Devins had worked so hard to get on the block, sitting beside Taylor. D had taken the shot, as they did last week with Kamu. Would it pay off in back-to-back weeks? Devins had helped create it. Mallory was furious, and now there was nowhere left for Mallory to hide. One of Taylor or Mallory was to become the seventh evicted house guest, joining Ashley, Rome, Lyric, Jason, Chuck, Ashley, Rome, Jason, Lyric, Chuck, Kamu. That's 6 people. Who would be the 7th person evicted? Will it be Taylor or will it be Mallory? There will be only 8 votes cast in the event of a tie. D is the HOH, and she will break the tie. She would be the tiebreaker vote if it was a 4-4 vote. With 8 votes being cast, there was still one more possibility hanging over House, a 4-4 tie. And if that happened, the HOHD would cast the deciding vote. So let's go to the live eviction in part 8. Great week, guys. Great week. Shout out to 167 people watching. It's midnight here on the East Coast. All right, part 8. Drew had just delivered when his game appeared to be on the line. After dominating the BB Blockbuster Grand Spectacular, Drew won the Week 7 BB Blockbuster and immediately removed himself from danger. I left the final nominees, Taylor and Mallory. 8 house cuts for vote, and because there were an even number of votes, a 4-4 tie was possible. If that happened, Week 7 HOHD would be forced to stand in front of the House and cast a deciding vote. After everything that happened between D and Mallory, that would have been explosive. Would D ultimately have to make that decision? Melody is called first to the diary room to cast her vote. Melody has voted to evict Taylor. So there's 1 vote to evict Taylor, 0 votes to evict Mallory. Melody followed through with her desire to protect Mallory. Vote number 2, Angela, who was also in the icons with D and Devins. Devins and Angela were on the same page before they went to D with this backdoor plan. Shouldn't be no surprise here on what she will do. Angela has voted to evict the Pipe Queen, Mallory. So we're tied. 1 vote to Taylor, 1 vote Mallory. Angela remained on D's side and supported the move to remove Mallory. Vote number 3, Barrett, who is Mallory's number 1, part of For the American People, with Barrett, Mallory, Melody, and Drew. This was one of the votes to watch. Barrett was an absolute wreck. Julie said, I'm sorry you have to do this, but we have to get your vote. After his late night shift away from the icons, where Barrett actually followed through, he did. Barrett voted to evict Taylor. So that is 2 votes to evict Taylor, 1 to evict Mallory. Barrett's late flip was real. Vote number 4 is Drew. This was one of the ones I was worried about going to this vote, because he was with For the American People this entire game. They stayed up every night till 2, 3 a.m., all 4 of them. Fresh off his huge blockbuster victory, Drew entered the diary room. He was upset, crying as well. Drew votes to evict Mallory. Drew evicted Mallory, pledging more allegiance to the icons. So that's 2 votes to evict Mallory, 2 votes to evict Taylor, with 4 votes left. Number 5 is Josh. There was, as I said earlier, there was never any doubt Josh absolutely loved Mallory. Never would have put her up. Absolutely. And Taylor is Josh's number one, and basically his only hope. Maybe now Barrett too, but only hope moving forward to win a competition. Josh votes to evict Mallory. So that's 3 votes to evict Mallory, 2 to evict Taylor. For the first time, Mallory moved into the lead for the most eviction vote. Vote number 6, Haley, who's had all her problems with Taylor throughout the week and in the past. She followed through with her plans that she made with Angela, Dee, and Devins. Haley also voted to evict Mallory. So that's 4 votes to evict Mallory, 2 to evict Taylor. Mallory was now 1 vote away from becoming the 7th person evicted from the Big Brother house. Vote number 7 is Devins. This comes as no surprise. This was Devins' ultimate move, planned way before the veto started. So would Devins be able to pull back-to-back moves as he used the Diamond Power veto last week to get Kamu on the block and ultimately evict Kamu? Will he be the final dagger in the Pipe Queen's Big Brother dreams? And then came perhaps the most fitting vote of the entire week. The player who has spent days planting the seed with Dee to nominate Mallory entered the DR. Devins had helped transfer Mallory from someone who was initially on the block into Dee's replacement nominee. Now he had the opportunity to finish what he started. Devins voted to evict Mallory. So with that being said, that is going to be enough votes. Mallory would be evicted from the Big Brother house. But we will go to the rest of the votes. 5th vote made Mallory's eviction mathematically official. Devin sealed her fate as he did Kamu last week. The Puppet Master storyline of Week 7 had come full circle. Vote 8, the final vote. There was still one final vote to record. Lala also voted to evict Mallory. And that established the official final vote count, which was Mallory would be evicted 6-2. So Melody evicted Taylor, Angela evicted Mallory, Barrett evicted Taylor. So the only 2 votes casted against Taylor was Melody and Barrett, and they both have to work with Taylor moving forward. This is going to get very tricky. The votes to evict Mallory is Angela, Drew, Josh, Haley, Devins, and Lala. Mallory became the 7th person evicted, joining Ashley, Rome, Lyric, Jason, Chuck, and Kamu as the 7th person evicted from Big Brother season 28, even 10 house guests. Dee never needed to cast a tiebreaking vote. So, week 1, Ashley was evicted unanimous. Rome week 2, Jason week 3, Lyric week 4, Chuck week 5, Kamu week 6, and Mallory week 7. The only other vote, the closest vote so far was the Lyric vote, and that was 8-3. Everything else, Mallory was second, was 6-2. Everything else has been pretty lopsided. After Mallory's departure, 10 house guests remain on the quest of $750,000 and the Big Brother season 28 winner. Who really won Dee's HOH? Dee gets official credit. She won North by Northwest, nominated Lala, Drew, and Taylor, and eventually placed Mallory on the block, and ultimately Mallory went home. But strategically, Week 7 strengthened Devin's resume. He didn't need the HOH key. He planted the seed for Mallory's renom, influenced Steve's decision, stayed out of direct danger, and then personally cast a vote that mathematically ended Mallory's game. Dee took the responsibility for the nomination. Devin got the result he wanted. That is going to matter when I reach my Week 7 power ranking. But the night wasn't finished, far from it. Julie has spent the entire 1000th episode promising something unprecedented, a twist that would completely reshape the game. With Mallory gone, it was finally time to find out what that meant. And within minutes, the entire traditional structure of Big Brother was about to disappear. What will be the twist moving forward into Week 8? Part 9, Medieval Times changes everything. Mallory had officially become the 7th evicted house guest of Big Brother Season 28, but on any normal Thursday night, the next step would have been obvious, which would have been the HOH competition to see who would regain the power for the week. But the remaining house guests would prepare for another head of household competition. The new HOH would nominate 3 people. POV would be played. Eventually, another BB blockbuster would determine who remained vulnerable on eviction night. Not so fast, you guys. Julie Chen steps in. She said, "This is Big Brother's 1000th episode. This is going to be the twist." Julie Chen had promised a never before seen twist that would completely reshape the game. Now it's finally time to reveal it. Welcome to Medieval Times, where you see Brittany Haynes and Danielle Reyes, also Keanu, and 4 of previous players standing in front of a castle. This is back in the 1000s, Medieval Times. But this simply wasn't another time laser theme. The entire structure of the game was changing. Julie revealed 3 enormous changes. There would be no head of household. For the first time during this twist, there would be no traditional HOH controlling the week. Nobody would win the HOH key. Nobody would have the normal power to simply select the nominees. And after these Week 7 reign, the house would enter Medieval Times without one person sitting safely at the top. There would also be no power of veto. There will be no POV. Normally, even after nomination, players still have another opportunity to save themselves. That safety net was disappeared. There would be no traditional veto winner and no normal veto ceremony. And the third part, there will be no BB blockbuster. And the competition that has saved multiple players throughout BB 28 for this particular twist would be disappearing. No BB blockbuster. That was especially striking after what had just happened to Drew. Minutes earlier, Drew had appeared to be in serious danger of eviction, and he dominated BB Grand Spectacular and guaranteed his safety. Under the Medieval Times format, that escape route will not exist. So how does anyone survive? That immediately created the biggest mystery heading into the next episode. If there is no HOH, no veto, no blockbuster, then how are players put in danger? That is a question mark. And how does someone get eliminated? That is a question mark. Julie wasn't giving away everything yet, but she revealed one detail that made the twist much more serious. She said someone's game will end by we will be down to 9 players. Someone will be evicted during this twist before Sunday's episode at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Time. The remaining 10 house guests weren't simply entering another week. Big Brother, another player was about to lose their game extremely quickly. By the next episode on Sunday, we would be down to 9 players. Someone else would be evicted. That means the Medieval Times twist begins with immediate consequences. Also, it was announced that from after the show airs on the West Coast tonight, the BB live feeds that I watch a lot of so that I can make notes for these recaps, there would be the Big Brother live feed would be down until after Sunday night's episode. So nobody is going to know, unless it's leaked online, who was evicted. There will be no live feeds from tonight all the way until after Sunday night's episode, which is just absolutely terrible for me. I don't know what I have plenty of fantasy football drafts Sunday. What the hell am I going to do tomorrow and Saturday? We'll see. But no live feed for 3 days, guys. So Julie Chen said go see some sun, go get some sunlight. For fans who normally follow every conversation, deal with betrayal and strategy session in real time, the game was suddenly going behind closed doors. Whatever happened during Medieval Times will initially happen without the audience watching through the feeds. And considering someone is expected to be evicted by Sunday's episode, when we next see the house, Big Brother 28 will already be down another player and will be joining Mallory and also Ashley and Rome and Lyric and Jason and Kamu and Chuck as the 8th person evicted from the Big Brother house, and we'll be down to 9. After Sunday's episode, we will be down to 9 players left, and at that point, we could be down to jury. We may be at the jury phase at that point. The timing of this twist couldn't be more dangerous. The alliance structure had just been shattered. The tool shed was destroyed. The mosh pit was destroyed. Barrett had just demonstrated that he was willing to shift sides. Melody had been willing to choose Mallory over Drew. D had just finished an HOH that left Mallory furious with her before Mallory's eviction. And Devins had quietly demonstrated how much influence he could have had without holding former power. Now take away the HOH, take away the veto, take away the blockbuster, and drop all 10 remaining players into a completely unknown format. Nobody knows exactly where safety will come from. So the final 10 entering medieval times following Mallory's eviction are D, Devins, Angela, Yash, Taylor, Drew, Melody, Barrett, Lala, and Haley. One of these 10 will apparently have their game ended by Sunday's episode at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And because the live feeds are going dark, viewers won't have the usual ability to follow exactly how it happens in real time. So Week 7 ends on a massive cliffhanger. Week 7 began with the familiar structure, D1 HOH. 3 people were nominated. Lala won veto. Mallory was the renom. Drew won the blockbuster. Mallory was evicted by a vote count of 6-2. Then on episode number 1000, Big Brother ripped up the rule book. Medieval times has begun. No HOH, no veto, no blockbuster. 3 days without live feeds. And another house guest will be evicted by the end of Sunday's episode at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. You do not want to miss that episode to see how this medieval times played out and who will be the 8th person evicted from the Big Brother house. Whatever happens next won't look like a normal week of Big Brother. With only 10 players remaining, one bad break in this new format could end anyone's game. All right. So, Week 7 status, end of Part 9. Mallory was evicted. 6-2. There's 10 players remaining. The next era is the 1000, year 1000 medieval times. HOH, no. Power veto, no. BB blockbuster, no. Live feeds down for 3 days. Next elimination by Sunday's episode. Rules still largely unknown. Game status completely reshaped. So we will move to Part 10. What a twist, guys. What a twist. Part 10. Who won and lost Week 7? Week 7 is officially over. D1 HOH, Lala won veto. Drew won the blockbuster. Mallory was evicted 6-2. But the results alone don't tell the full story. This was a week where all alliance collapsed. Relationship changed overnight. A player who never held former power may have controlled one of the most important decisions. Before I rank the final 10, here's where everybody stands entering this new twist of medieval times. The biggest winner is Devins. If one player improved his strategic resume during Week 7, it was Devins. D wore the HOH key, but Devins repeatedly demonstrated that he didn't need it. His biggest accomplishment was planting seeds, eventually convinced D to nominate Mallory after Lala used the veto. Mallory wasn't one of D's original noms. By the veto ceremony, she was sitting on the block. By eviction night, she was gone. And finally, Devins himself cast the 5th vote against Mallory, mathematically sealing her fate and her eviction from the game. That's an impressive sequence. Influence HOH, get the target nominated, avoid taking the public blame, and vote the target out. Devins and D also spent the week working to pull Haley closer, giving him another potential relationship moving forward. The danger. He's never touched the nomination block, the only player left in the game. Out of 10. People may eventually realize how much influence Devin has. The best puppet masters stay invisible. If everyone starts seeing the strings, Devin's threat level could explode through the roof. D. Successful HOH are dangerously influenced. On paper, D had an excellent Week 7. She won North by Northwest with an incredible 50-second time. She nominated Lala, Drew, and Taylor. While Lala won the veto, D nominated Mallory. Mallory went home 6-2. As a successful HOH, but strategically there are questions. The episode made it increasingly clear that Devins was heavily influenced in the Mallory decision. That meant Dee took visible responsibility for a move Devin to create, and Dee got all the blood on her hands. Mallory became furious with Dee and blasted her in the DR. Mallory ultimately left, so Dee avoided having the angry enemy return to the game, but the situation revealed something important. Dee needs to make sure she's playing Dee's game, not Devin's game. Still, she entered medieval times with Angela beside her, and the benefit of Yash accepting her $5,000 BB bribe, which requires him to protect Dee and Angela during the next HOH and Devon's. Whenever there actually is another HOH, that can become extremely valuable. Drew, from almost evicted to safe, Drew had one of the wildest weeks of Week 7. He started as original nominee, got into a big, huge altercation after the nomination ceremony with Lala and Taylor and Yash. He struggled to convince the icons of his value. Barrett eventually turned on Drew and the icons. And then the biggest warning sign, Melody said she would evict Drew over Mallory. Drew appeared to be heading into the BB Blockbuster, facing a win or go home situation. So what did he do? He absolutely crushed it. Drew won the BB Grand Cliptacular and wasn't even close. Drew deserves enormous credit for delivering under pressure, but his strategic position remains shaky. Winning saved him this time, entering medieval times. There is no Blockbuster to rescue him again. Barrett, the flip is real. Barrett made one of the biggest late moves of Week 7. He began turning away from the icons and Drew, and he turned toward Josh, Taylor, Melody, Mallory, and Lala. And when eviction voting began, Barrett proved the shift wasn't just talk. Barrett voted to evict Taylor. The original plan appeared designed to position Barrett against Drew if Drew remained vulnerable. But Drew's Blockbuster victory changed everything. Mallory left anyway. Now Barrett entered medieval times, having exposed that he is willing to flip. That could open new relationships and also put a target on Barrett's back from the icons. It also could make both sides wonder if they could trust him. Melody, a surprising choice. One of the biggest revelations of the episode came from Melody. Despite her close relationship and showmatch with Drew, Melody said she would vote Drew out over Mallory. Then once Drew became safe, Melody followed through on protecting Mallory by voting to evict Taylor. Mallory still went home. Now Melody enters the next stage without Mallory, and Drew may eventually learn exactly how willing Melody was to let him go, and that could have major consequences moving forward. Lala keeps delivering. Lala continues to build one of the most interesting competition resumes of Big Brother 28. Earlier this season, she won the Wall at 58 years old. This week, she found herself nominated again, and once again, she delivered, winning the Power Veto Feel the Burn, 65 to 42 to 37. She used the veto on herself, guaranteeing safety. Lala may not always sit at the center of strategy, but nobody should underestimate her ability to win when she needs to. Taylor survived. Taylor began Week 7 as one of Dee's 3 nominees. Our number one allies are Lala and Yash. She failed to win the veto. She failed to win the Blockbuster, and after Drew became safe, she found herself sitting beside a way bigger target, competition-wise, and somebody that could win at the end. Mallory. Taylor received eviction votes from Melody and Barrett. The 6 other house guests chose Mallory. Taylor survived 6-2. The good news is obvious. She's still here. The bad news, 2 players just openly voted to send her home. And in a twist where nobody knows how safety works, that matters. Yash, quiet but connected. Yash stayed very quiet this week. Yash didn't control Week 7, but he remained connected to multiple pieces of the house. Most importantly, he accepted he's $5,000 richer by getting a $5,000 BB bribe, requiring him to protect Dee, Angela, and Devin when he wins his next HOH. He also became part of the late group involving Taylor, Melody, Mallory, Lala, and Barrett. During the eviction, however, Yash voted Mallory out. That makes his position difficult to define, which may actually benefit him. If nobody can clearly identify exactly where Yash belongs, he can continue moving between groups. Angela, still close to power. Angela remained loyal to Dee's side. She supported the Mallory plan to vote to Victor. Her strongest advantage remained with her relationship with Dee, Haley, and Lala. The accepted BB bribe also potentially gives Angela future protection from Yash, but entering medieval times, former power disappeared and no HOH to hide behind. That means Angela may have to rely much more heavily on competition and her social. Haley quietly improving. Haley has survived a dangerous week 6 and entered week 5 and week 6 and entered week 7 without power. But Dee and Devin spent the time trying to bring Haley closer as an ally. Then Haley voted with the majority to evict Mallory. Haley currently isn't driving the game. Sometimes being useful to powerful players without becoming their biggest threat is exactly where you want to be. Heading into an unpredictable twist, Haley may be one of the most interesting sleepers remaining. The line sport is a mess. Perhaps the biggest strategic story of Week 7 wasn't one individual move. It was the collapse of the old house structure, the tool shed destroyed, mosh pit destroyed, Wolfpack destroyed. The game had become much more FAP destroyed. And Barrett's late shift to demonstrate how quickly loyalties can change. Normally, this would make the next HOH competition incredibly important, except there isn't one. Medieval Times couldn't arrive at a worse time. The final 10 are entering an unknown game. Devins has influence. Dee has just exposed her cards. Angela remains attached to Dee. Yash has connections everywhere. Taylor just survived the block. Drew needed the blockbuster win to survive. Melly just lost her best friend Mallory. Barrett exposed his flip and his also his number one. Mallory. Lala proved again she can win. Haley is quietly building a relationship. Now remove the normal safety mechanism. No HOH, no veto, no blockbuster. And someone will be evicted on Sunday's episode at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central in the Medieval Times twist format. There is no obvious way to predict exactly who will benefit, but based strictly on where everyone finished week 7, I can rank who enters Medieval Times in the strongest position. This is the last part, guys, and we will be done. So as my final power rankings heading into the twist of the Medieval Times, week 7 began with Dee taking control, ended with Big Brother throwing control out of the window entirely. We saw Lala save herself with the veto, Devon's engineering Mallory's nomination, Barrett turned against Drew in the Icon, Drew dominating the blockbuster with his game on the line, and Mallory becoming the 7th person voted out by eviction of 6-2. Then episode 1000 changed everything. There'll be no HOH, no veto, no blockbuster, and as the final 10 and no 3 days of feeds on Paramount Plus. Entering the final 10 in Medieval Times, another house guest will be evicted by the conclusion of Sunday night's episode at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Before that chaos begins, here's my official BB28 Week 7 power rankings. Entering Medieval Times, Devins, number 1, A+. Number 2 is Josh. Number 3 is Dee. Number 4 is Lala. Number 5 is Haley, who has moved way up in the power rankings for me. Number 6 is Angela. Number 7 is Barrett. Number 8 is Taylor. She went way down. Great. I graded her a C. I didn't give everybody your grade. Sorry. Number 9 is Melody. Also a C. I'll run over the grades really quick. So, Devins, A+. Yash, A-. Dee, A-. Lala, A. Haley, B+. Angela, B. Barrett, B-. Taylor, C+. Melody, C. And Drew, last at a C+. So Devins went up. Number 1, Yash 2, Dee 3, Lala 4, Haley 5, Angela 6, Barrett 7, Taylor 8, Melody 9, and Drew 10. Week 7 award. Player of the week is Devins. Clutch player of the week is Drew. Competition performance of the week is Drew and Lala. Most complicated HOH is Dee. Biggest game shift, Barrett turning on Drew and the Icons. And then we had episode 1000, a night of Big Brother history and the biggest twist ever in Big Brother history. The final 10 now enter the Medieval Times in the year 1000. Live feed will be down. 3 days, no HOH, no Power Veto, no BB Blockbuster. And by the end of Sunday's episode, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, we will be down to 9 players. One person will be evicted in the Medieval Times twist. So that is it, guys, for your Big Brother Season 28 Week 7 recap show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Once again, Mallory was evicted 6-2. Joining Ashley, Rome, Jason, Lyric, Chuck, and Kamu as the 7th person evicted from the Big Brother Season 28 house. Now we have a twist. There's no live feed for 3 days. There's no HOH. There's no veto. There's no Blockbuster. With the final 10 going into Medieval Times, who will be the 8th person evicted on Sunday night? On Sunday night, guys. Nobody will know from the live feeds who will survive the Medieval Times. Tune in Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on CBS or Paramount Plus to find out. And obviously, we will be going over that next Thursday night when we go over the Big Brother Season 28 Week 8 recap show. Shout out to the 182 people watching live. Shout out to Kingpin in the comments. We're live on my YouTube channel, my X page, and also on DWE Television X. Make sure you follow everybody from DWE Television X page. Make sure you follow the DWE Family Media page, starting with Miami the Great, who was live earlier with Inside the NFL Mind with Miami. Me and him will be back starting Tuesday. It will not be a recap show, but what it will be is EVP Miami week 1 preview show. We will be getting you guys ready for the upcoming Week 1 NFL season. That will be Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. You can catch Inside the Mind on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern on DWE Television, on Talk It Up Podcast on YouTube. Also on Saturdays, Miami the Great, Final Boss Baby with 2 B's, the CFO and HR of DWE. You catch them every Saturday for DWE Radio, on DWE Television, on X, on Talk It Up Podcast on YouTube, also on DWE TV and DWE Television on Twitch, and also on Spotify. Also The World of Greg and Kyle the Man Anthony every Monday, an hour before Raw, which tomorrow's SmackDown, the next Raw and the next SmackDown will all be taped, but they will be live every Monday, an hour before Raw comes on, getting you ready for the Raw card with the rundown. Speaking of Kyle the Man Anthony, you can join him. You can tune in to him on Mondays with the rundown. Also on Wednesdays, he is the host and I'm the co-host. You can tune in this coming up Wednesday with 8 p.m. Eastern for Queens. We were on last night, episode 12 of Queens of WWE. Make sure you follow Kyle. Also, starting next Friday, Director Red and Kyle will be starting a new reality show called The Bold and Beyond, where they will be talking about Beyond the Gates and Bold and the Beautiful. Make sure you tune into that and follow Kyle the Man Anthony and Director Reg. After Slam Podcast on X, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Smoke Session Podcast, Sports Channel Network, and everyone affiliated with Gimmick Table Media. This has been your Big Brother Season 28 Week 7 recap, where Mallory becomes the 7th person evicted from the Big Brother Season 28 house by a eviction count of 6-2. I'll be back shortly to tell you guys where you can find me on my socials and what I have coming up for you guys for the rest of this week and next week.
Wrestling has more than one royal family.
There are a lot of podcasts out there, but only one with this kind of energy.
Welcome to EVP Show Recaps Predictions Sports. Let go, Show Recaps Predictions Sports.
In one podcast.
Welcome to EVP Show Recaps Predictions Sports. Let go.
All right, shout out to the 182 people that has tuned in. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Big Brother Season 28 Week 7 recap show. As far as my social medias, it is scrolling across the bottom of the screen. You can find me on X at EVP2JP. And all the way at the top of my X page is my YouTube. It's pinned. We are on the road to 400 subscribers. There will be a giveaway of 400. So if you can retweet that YouTube page, that would help me out a lot. On Instagram, you can find me at EVP2JP, where you can find all of my upcoming videos made by Miami the Great from upcoming streams, my SmackDown videos, are already up on the page, so make sure you check that out and give me a follow. My YouTube is in my bio. On TikTok, same thing. All the upcoming videos made by Miami. It's a business account. My YouTube is in my bio. You can find me at Brady the Goat 21. That's at BRADY Goat 21. Last but not least, most importantly, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you did watch this stream or go back and watch it, leave some comments. Tell me what you thought about the episode and what you feel about this upcoming twist in medieval times. Who do you feel like will be the next person evicted in this crazy twist that nobody will know about, since no live feeds will be on 472 until after the episode Sunday night. If you cannot find my YouTube channel on any of my social media platforms, go to that search bar in the top right corner. And type in at the EVP Show. There's over 1,100 live videos, over 500 YouTube shorts. I did post the YouTube shorts from last night from the NXT Heatwave prediction show, so make sure you guys go in and check them out. There's about 10 to 12 YouTube shorts from our NXT Heatwave prediction show last night. Thank you to all those guys that came on for the NXT Heatwave prediction show last night. If you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, please hit that turn the notification bell and come and join me for my daily wrestling content. Again, if you are searching for it, you can't find it on any social media platform. Just type in at the EVP Show. What I have coming up for you guys next, tomorrow night, I'm back at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time for your SmackDown recap. And then Saturday, I'm off. But Sunday, it's no Sunday Night Scoops until my birthday, which is September 13th. But join me at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time live Sunday for the NXT Heatwave recap show. And then I'm back again Monday night at 11 p.m. Eastern for your Raw recap show. It will be the Go Home Raw before Sunday night's main event. And then what's the fallout from NXT Heatwave? Join me next Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time for your NXT recap show. And then next Wednesday, it's prediction show time again. Join me and 9 others as we will at 6 p.m. Eastern, as we will be doing the Saturday night's main event prediction show. Again, set the notification bell and come and join me and 9 others as we predict the Sunday night main event prediction show card next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Next Thursday, it's going to be another wacky and wild week here on reality television. Join me again at 9:30 p.m. Eastern next Thursday night. We will be talking about medieval times, who went home Sunday night, and possibly somebody else may be going home Thursday night. Join me Thursday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time for the Big Brother Season 28 Week 8 recap show. And then next Friday night, the last show before Sunday night's main event, join me at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time for your SmackDown recap show. I'm off next Saturday. No Sunday Night Scoops next Sunday either. But come back and join me at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time next Sunday for your Sunday night's main event recap show. So that is my schedule for the rest of this week and next week. And thank you guys, the 182 people that have tuned in to the Big Brother Season 28 Week 7 recap show. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. And we are in for another crazy week. This has been one of my favorite seasons in a long time. So I've thoroughly enjoyed recapping and giving you guys a fully detailed breakdown. And there will be another poll put up tomorrow on Twitter. There was one up on YouTube. I'm probably leaning towards Survivor or Amazing Race when Big Brother finishes October the 1st. So be on the lookout for that. With that being said, guys, hopefully the week is done. Not for the Big Brother players. They're entering medieval times tonight. Who knows what's going to go on there. But hopefully you guys enjoy your Friday and come back tomorrow night. Another show's taped. But come back tomorrow night and join me at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time for your for your SmackDown recap show live here on the EVP Show tomorrow night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I am the EVP from the EVP Show and the Golden Boy of DWE, and DWE is the only place to be. Good night, everyone. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big Brother Season 28 Week 7 recap show. get you guys some good rest. Enjoy your Friday. And come back and join me tomorrow night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time for your SmackDown recap show. Good night, everyone.